You're welcome. Primetime League starts right now!
With so much drama in the LCS, I decided to catch up with some fans and help them understand what's going on in the new season. Are there more European players in the NA or EU LCS?
Hello and welcome to a brand new season of Primetime League. I'm Rivington Bislin III, and today we'll be breaking down the roster moves and role swaps that may have the biggest impact on the spring split. But first, we have got to congratulate the 2015 World Champions, SK Telecom T1. Earlier this morning, they kicked off the 2016 season with a dominating 2-0 sweep of CJ Entus in the first match of the year. Even though SKT is missing World's MVP Marin and the 6th man of the year in Easy Hoon, they still had Faker. Faker busted out a Corki and a Victor on his way to a perfect stat line of 15, 0, and 15. So maybe SKT chose the right mid laner to keep, after all. We also have to give a quick shout out to KT Rolster. Thanks to the jungle top duo of Someday and Score, the roller coaster started off the spring split with an impressive 2-0 sweep over one of the LCK's new teams, the Afrika Freaks. The Freaks are one of 12 teams that are either competing in their first split or rebranded reincarnations of old squads in the 5 premier regions. The NALCS leads the way in something for once, with 4 new teams taking to the stage this spring. Of course, with new teams come new players, and if you add the new rosters to the rest of the offseason changes, there were a staggering 188 moves made in this offseason in the winter. And with 50 teams making up the 5 premier regions, that means there's an average of more than 3 new players per roster. Tons of change, and it wasn't just diamond tier players changing teams. Players like Uzi, Flame, World's MVP Marin switched up squads as well, so there's a lot to look forward to. Then there are LCS MVPs who decided to see what a new jersey would feel like. Out of the last 6 LCS most valuable players, 4 of them are on new teams, with Bjergsen being the only one to remain on the same squad as last split. We'll see what they all can do. And I know that's a Pantheon-sized number drop, but thankfully Freak has cauterized his saber wound and he has healed enough to help break down North America's most impactful offseason changes.
This spring, there will be 40 new players and 4 new teams competing in the North American League, including 2 former European MVPs. And now to break down those biggest shakeups, let's welcome North America's awesome experts. Kobe, Jat, welcome to the show.
Welcome us.
Hey. Yes, you guys are awesome. Now let's talk about the first team. North America's own Exodia. TSM coming together. They kept Bjergsen. They brought together some of the best talents from across the world. Yellow Star, one of the best sports in the world. Doublelift, one of the best AD carriers in North America. The rest of the roster.
MVPs from
they're just collecting amazing players. So tell me, is this going to work out, TSM, with 2 big carries in the roster now?
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the big question. You always see teams where they try and put together a lot of star power and they're not exactly sure if they can work with sharing all the gold and, where does it go. I actually don't think that's going to be too big of a problem, but look at these numbers that we do have from last season.
Yeah, I think the stars they have put on the team are definitely capable of being the best team in North America, maybe the best team North America has ever had, but it's definitely not a certainty because every single member of this TSM team is playing with 4 new teammates and a new coach. Literally everything changed for these guys. So we've seen super teams in the past have slow starts. That could be what happens to TSM in this split.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that it's going to depend on is Yellow Stars taking over the shot calling role, kind of relieving Bjergsen of that burden. How well is he going to work with the rest of the team? Can they get that, communication going both ways? And is it really going to open up Bjergsen to actually unleash his full potential as a solo mid laner?
And how are the egos going to work, right? all of these guys are used to being the alphas on their team. Even if they weren't the shot caller, they always got their way in arguments. Now they have 3 people all in one half of the map that have to share that duty.
All right, so a lot of stars here. We'll see if that can work out with MVP Yellow Star. Of course, we've got more MVPs and more members of Fnatic. Of course, you've got Immortals here, Hootie and Rainover coming over. But alongside Pobelter, Adrian, Wild Turtle, like some very good players in this one. It's another... I'm trying to think of something that's not Exodia, but something like maybe Megatron coming together. You know, what do the Power Rangers do?
Oh, they're
Just
the evil one,
2/5
huh?
of the undefeated team from last year. And also, I think the two of the most critical members of Fnatic as well, because if we look at the way Fnatic made their advantages last year, it was through Hoonie and Rainover. Febiven and Reckless would play their lane fairly even, and then the giant advantages created by the top half of the map would carry through the rest of the team. So I think Immortals has a really good chance of starting off the season really strong because of that inbuilt synergy.
Yeah, bringing over the top laner plus the jungler is actually crucial in importing a duo that already know how to work together. Really interested to see, how Pobelter, Wild Turtle, and Adrian, the rest of these guys can fit into that, because Pobelter and Wild Turtle were these guys in North America who, yes, they've been considered really good for a long time, but they also, they've had their struggles. They've had to climb back from adversity. They've always had a really good attitude, though. So we'll see how they do on a new team.
Yeah, you talk about like the bottom lane of like former TIP as well. Like good at playing passive. Adrian kind of chill there, wait for his top lane to do stuff. Final thing I want to talk to you about is energy here. The big all-star pickup is GBM coming over from Korea, an incredibly strong mid laner in his own right, and it's another team just bringing people together, hoping that it works out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing GBM first off, because he has been as under the radar as you can be for a really good mid laner. Because when people don't follow the LCK, some people don't follow the LCK, you have Faker and EZHOON kind of in that first tier of Korean mid laners, then maybe you had Coco right below that. But the next tier is GBM, along in like the Nagne Kuro tier. And when he transfers that over to North America, it gets really exciting.
Yeah, and the other thing is that he's definitely a hype mid laner for team fights, and I think he does fit into this lineup really well, because he's used to working with one of the sort of smaller end of the gold share spectrums for his team. So that frees up a lot of money to be funneled into Altec. And Altec is one of the guys who has been able to carry teams. When he's the focus of the team and they funnel a lot of resources into him, he does perform really well.
Yeah.
Also, then we add Impact onto that in the top lane, and he's already had success in North America. He'll also be able to help Gank by Mom, I think, ease him into the situation.
How strong are those solo lanes going to be? Because if those solo lanes perform incredibly strongly, then the less experienced members of the team like Moon can be in situations to succeed.
I think that is the big wild card here.
Yeah.
Moon, especially, he's coming from the challenger scene. He did have success in the challenger scene, but he is definitely the fresh face on this team.
Well, yeah, the mix of imports, experienced talent as well as new guys is going to be a really interesting roster to watch for. Guys, thank you very much. We'll see you on Saturday for the NALCS.
Looking forward to it.
The LCS wasn't the only league to see icons, stars, and MVPs swap teams or switch regions. It's time to count down the top 5 non-LCS offseason moves in this year's first edition of the Penta.
Coming in at number 5, the Taipei Assassins say goodbye to their mid laner Chowie as he heads over to the AHQ Esports Club.
想要来留住位置，让位置反上，好像要开战，直接闪 W， 把 Chunkers 直接超伤害推到Chowie秒杀，Chowie这边会倒下吗？今天先补上第一波的伤害，以后再一次的飞剑，这个伤害太夸张了，连清晨都命中的情况下，又是一个夸张 kill。
At number 4, LGD bids farewell to top laner Flame and his gnarly initiations as he returns to Korea and joins Longzhu Gaming.
He's the only person with AoE wave that he doesn't do it.
Inner turret's going to fall down. Descent's on a Flame, but he's about to go into Mega Gnar. Super Mega Death Rocket comes in. MLXG very low. Look at the 5-man Gnar from Flame.
Just watch this replay. Remember, there is no TBQ during this fight. Everyone tries to peel for Whoosh, and thus everyone gets gnawed into the wall.
At number 3, 2015 World Champion EZHOON looks to continue stacking up the solo kills from his days on Korea's SKT as he makes his way over to China's Vici Gaming.
I just wonder now, these games really do seem... Whoa, flash ult on Kuro. EZHOON going in. He pops the ignite. Is it enough? EZHOON. Whoa, did he get him? The poison ticking. He got him.
Kuro's at full HP right here, and he has blue buff. EZHOON just gets behind the Sand Soldiers, uses that ignite. Kuro tries to get away, uses his flash, and then the last hit.
At number 2, OMG's former AD carry Uzi aims to carry over his insane Vayne mechanics to the Xiaohu Reapers.
开大，但是维恩这里反正打漂亮，哇！ 我的天，这一波优哉操作完美，这一波优哉操作真的完美。
先躲技能，然后反身滚了一下，就发现他把所有的伤害都滚掉了。这就优哉。
And at number 1, 2015 World Championship MVP Marin will be leaving Korea's SKT and looking to continue making the outplays as he joins LGD Gaming in China.
No one attacks down yet. The boomerang goes out, not going to play it slow. Wow, Marin just eviscerates
Beautiful
him. That's
play.
a double. Here
What
comes
an
Bang,
outplay.
and SKT demolish H2K. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're here in Berlin, Germany, home of the European LCS, where Fisher and I are getting really excited because it is almost time for the start of the 2016 season.
Yeah, and about a year ago, PTL, they showed this clip.
I'm just super hyped because after all, it's gonna be Worlds. I messed it up. It's Worlds!
And I was sitting at home watching that, and I was like, you know what? This is gonna be my only on air that year. And it was. I didn't say any other time. And I'm tired as well of that being my brand, you know, saying every time and dropping these F-bombs and D-Man making fun of me and all that kind of stuff. So it's done. From now on, no more given.
Good.
On air. Especially because I know it really hurts your heart when I say it, and
like
I'm
a
super
clean
sorry.
show. You know, get the soap and clean your mouth out. So I'm glad you're done.
Good. I'm done saying from now on. Anyway, we did lose a lot of players in the off-season. We can't really hide it. A lot of the players went over to North America. Same last year, though, where we lost some players, and we still managed to get 2 teams in the semifinals of Worlds.
2 top 4 teams at Worlds. One of them was Fnatic. They had to rebuild last year after losing Peke and Soaz and Cyanide. They built this core around Yellowstar, and now Yellowstar's gone. So the only remaining players for Fnatic is going to be Febiven and Reckless. They've still got that Korean top jungle in Gamsu and Spirit, but, you know, they've replaced Noxiac with Yellowstar, and I don't think that is quite as strong a player, but they've got a lot of time to prove me wrong.
I mean, I think it's safe to say this team is going to be weaker than the Fnatic we saw last year, especially in the spring split. Remember, though, they had to still learn a lot. If you look, again, at the team we saw last year, because they came in the start in spring, and it was fun to watch. It was like a lot of kills going on, very crazy games. They learned a lot coming into a Messiah and then into Summer Split. This team has to do exactly the same. I do, however, feel there's more competition around them now, especially up in that top 4.
Yeah, I think so too. And, you know, for Fnatic, they lost that support staff who've gone to some of the other top 4 teams. The obvious one is going to be, I think, Origin. I think, you know, this is a team placed semi-final. They've made 1 roster change. Peke was the player who was, I think, struggling more than the rest last year. They brought in Power of Evil, great mechanical player, good, you know, in lane. And I think if he's guided by Amazing and Mythy, this could really unlock PoE. And this is my front runner for top of the table.
I agree 100%. I said it when I wrote about Origin as well. I think this is going to be the best team in spring. I'm almost going to say it's going to be disappointing if they don't at least make top 2, because again, they made that 1 change. Origin as well as a team who are very good at understanding who are the key players, who do we need to play around at certain stages in the game. So when Pickett didn't have the best split, they didn't try and focus ganks on him. You know, they played around Zoas and Nils, obviously, who's now called Sven, in the bottom lane. I'm not sure why he changed that name, but he did, and that's basically it.
The thing I like about Origin is I want to see how Peke does now that he's stepping back as a manager, and as a team, they're looking in a different direction for their coaching. So I want to see how these players are going to work that out. Talking about some of the support stuff, one of the guys that left Fnatic was Ispa, and he's gone over to H2K. And now H2K, they've also made substitutions. I personally think they won the off-season. Brand new look, Odoame, Yankos, Ryu, Forgiven, and Vanda. I think there's some more threats, and I think this is another team that if they can stabilize their performance with Prolly, with Ispa, that are looking top 3.
I mean, when we look at the teams who made a lot of changes, it is H2K and Vitality, and we were kind of judging both of them, just looking at the players. Now with the addition of Ispa, I definitely agree in the fact they could keep Prolly in H2K. I think that support stuff is fantastic. Ryu as well is a guy who's just been getting better and better. If you look at like his progress last year, obviously it's not the peak performance we saw from Ryu back in Season 3 and so on, but if he can get close to that, combined with Forgiven, combined with Odo Amne, this lineup will challenge Origin for that number 1 spot. They have to. So it's very, very good for Europe now that we can honestly have higher expectations for H2K than we did last year.
Yeah, and I actually think they looked a little better than Fnatic at IEM Cologne.
Agree.
Both teams very, very new and very fresh, and there's been a lot of times since then. So I'm interested to see how the practice shakes out. And another team that has to practice to improve is going to be Vitality, because this is a team that you could consider like an EU super team. There's a lot of hype around these players. EpicSkillshot is phenomenal early. Shook has got the ability to be game-changing, as does Nukeduck, but both of these players are not the most consistent. So I think if those two like get a stable base, Vitality are also going to climb the ranks, in my opinion, and who's going to finish in that top 4?
Again, they have to finish top 4 with the player material they have here. Shant as well is the coach. I think he's a great coach, and Gambit last year praised him quite a lot. Now, obviously, they sold the spot here to Vitality. That's why we have the name change, but I look at this lineup as a bit of a Fnatic lineup from last year, because you got like EpicSkillshot who's the Huni type, you know, he wants to be the carry. You can get him fed early on. You have a mid lane and Nukeduck who can play the control style, but also pick up an assassin if needed. He's consistently doing well. And Yannick is sitting in the bottom lane, the shot calling support, the team fighting AD carry. Shook is obviously the question mark here.
And
bringing him
Nukeduck,
back.
And Nukeduck.
Well, no, I think Nukeduck has shown that he is a very, very good, consistent mid laner. He's more than average.
Well, we'll see.
He's a good mid laner.
We'll see, because I'm not a believer.
It's fine.
But if we look, I think, lower down the table in some of the squads we're going to see challenging maybe for the middle, I think you have to look at Splice and G2 Esports. Both of these teams, I think, have the ability to impress, right? Splice, they qualified as Dignitas EU, all Danish roster, a bunch of, you know, pretty high players, Senkax and Kobe. How is Trashy going to perform? Because NA was not the strongest for him. So, you know, questions we want to see. And obviously G2, they've also imported some Korean players.
Again, 2 challenger teams coming in. We are really looking forward to that, because the challenger teams coming in Europe are very good and they can challenge some of the top teams. They want to make playoffs. That's the goal, obviously. Learn as much as you can here in spring. Very exciting to see like Trick and Emperor. How can they perform? Communication for this team. Obviously not going to be a problem for Splice. There's Pulsar talk everywhere, and then Yamato Cannon trying to speak to them as well. On the other hand, though, bottom of the table, we got to look at teams like Elements and Rocket, because there is very little hype around these teams coming into the split.
And both of these teams have players that have really struggled or simply not performed to challenge the best of the best. There's no like superstar players in either the Elements or the Rocket rosters.
And that's the thing, if you look at the rosters last year, you would have like Rocket, there would be like Nukeduck as a guy we would highlight often, Jankos, Vander, but then it would be Mr. Rallis and Steve. They're not bad players, but they're a little bit further down the rankings. Now, it's been splitting up, you know, the top players from that Rocket lineup had gone to H2K, had gone to Vitality, and then Steve and Rallis has gone down. So, like, it's going to be difficult for these teams. They have to just try and survive, honestly. But then again, good communication, good strategy, that can be the key for you, even though you don't have the best players to
like
still do well.
Voltron, maybe combined their powers are greater. But anyways, I think that's just a little bit of an opinion on some of our players, and I do think we actually have to say goodbye to the European players that we did.
So now it is time to take a look at the BFingest games from across the 5 premier regions, listed in temporal order by start date and time. Let's begin. Which means up first, it is the LCK battle between the super hyped Longzhu Gaming and the Jin Air Green Wings.
This is actually really exciting because Longzhu put together a brand new super team. The former squad of Incredible Miracle, not very good, but they've got Coco, probably the number 2 mid laner this season in Korea. Flame is back and in the top lane, and Chaser, some would consider the best jungler in Korea, to go alongside Captain Jack Impure. This squad has so much talent. Meanwhile, Jin Air, a little bit of sad playing that JPG for them. It's going to be a rebuilding season for them. We'll see if they can go upwards.
See how it changes. Let's keep it moving. Up next is the pair of LPL preseason favorites as last year's most dominating team. Edward Gaming takes on a Royal Never Give Up squad that's stacked with new talent.
So this is another very interesting one because on the one side, you've got, oh man, Edward Gaming, the kings of China. They're just the best performing international Chinese team by far. Meanwhile, Royal Never Give Up, another Longzhu sort of story, a whole bunch of great players coming together. Mata, Looper, Name, alongside Mata. He finally has a great support. If Name doesn't show up, there's something wrong with him now at this point. But this squad could be incredible. Insects in there as well. So big super team from China.
And the third BF game of the week is the battle between the top two teams in the LMS as the Flash Wolves take on the two-time defending champs AHQ Esports Club.
Number 1 versus number 2 here, Riv. These two spots are the ones that do battle over and over again. 2 roster changes to note, though, is that Westor was retiring and then maybe not retiring, but Chawi was picked up as either the starting or substitute mid laner. Chawi was very, very good last year, so he could do great things on AHQ. Meanwhile, Stake has stepped down as a starter. He's now an analyst. His substitute top laner, MMD, is now the starter for Flash Wolves, so we'll see if Flash Wolves can keep doing awesome. Of course, they lost Kramer as well, but NL was starting by the end there anyway.
We'll see what they got. Thursday's final BF game features 2 of last year's Final 4 Worlds team. Fnatic and Origin had incredible 2015 seasons, reaching the World Championship semifinals with rosters that were less than a year old. While Origin has added the power of evil, Fnatic is rebuilding yet again, hitting the Rift with 3 new starters.
So Origin, one of those rare teams that hasn't changed a whole lot except an upgrade in the mid lane. These guys should look absolutely incredible, and I think they're a favorite to win Europe over here. But Fnatic, I mean, it's the same story as last year. Hey, we're going to pick up a bunch of people that, you know, some have good pedigree, some don't. And then we'll see how well it goes. But, you know, Daylor's still there, and the mid laner AD carry is still there. So Fnatic can just do the same thing that Fnatic's done year after year and try to win Europe again.
Rinse and repeat once again. Our 5th BF game of the week features a TSM squad that hopes to fight Origin for the title best in the West. But first, they'll have to get past the Summer Split champions, Counterlogic Gaming.
I feel like we're beating a dead horse here, but super teams, super teams, super teams. TSM is back. They kept their best player in Bjergsen, and they added some amazing players down the line. They also learned that, hey, maybe our team should speak all one language. So Doublelift, Yellow Star, what many consider actually now the best support in the world. Mata said he'd pick him as the sole support to build a team around. There's some real hype around him coming across from Fnatic. But Counterlogic Gaming kind of taking a different approach. They've picked players from their own bench, and now they've got Stixig coming in for Doublelift, Huhi coming in for Pobelter, number 1 versus number 2 from last year, as well as just 2 very good teams, and we'll see how well CLG builds up.
2 completely different way to grab your resources. It's going to be an awesome season to see how it pans out. And while these 5 games are the BFingest, there are more hype matches happening this and every week of the season. Head over to the new and improved LOLesports.com to check out the schedule for all of the premier regions.
It's time for our first Primetime League Twitter question of the year. And if you're playing for the first time, here's how it goes. Get the question right, and we'll give you daps on air. Get the question right and the Hall of Fame query correct, and your name enters the prestigious Hall of Fame alongside legends like Lustboy. All right, ready? Here we go. This week, we want you to predict which LCS teams will finish week 1 in first place. There's 20 to choose from. Pick all the ones that are going to end up in first. And for that inscription into the PTL Hall of Fame, tell us which player will finish the week with the most kills, along with that total number of kills that he's going to get. If there's a tie, just pick one. It's fine. Make sure to send your answer to @LOLesports and use the hashtag PTL. And remember, no hashtag PTL, no bueno, no Hall of Fame.
Hey everybody, Jack here with another edition of League of Learning, the first one of the 2016 season, because there were a lot of changes. Too many changes probably to cover in a single episode, so I wanted to talk about the changes that impact the pacing of the game. Games are going to be shorter. There are longer death timers, which contributes to that. There is also a Rift Herald, which will contribute, along with shorter games, to having fewer 5 dragons. And as a reference point, the average game time of 2015 Summer NALCS was 39 minutes and 8 seconds. I think that's going down by at least 2 minutes. First change I want to dive into is the death timers. These are relative differences between the old season and the new. The big difference on this graph is at 34 minutes, death timers are a full 24% longer. This is slightly mitigated by the fact that everyone gets the home guard bonus post 20 minutes, but it basically means that if someone is dead, they're dead for much longer, which means it's easier to end the game or take deep turrets within their base. Another big change is all of the turrets. The outer turret is a little bit more durable in the game. It starts the game exactly as durable as the old season and then slowly scales up. But after that, every turret gets weaker. Inner turrets, inhibitor turrets, and nexus turrets. And the later into the game, the more durable they become, but they never reach the same durability that they had last season. The inner turrets in particular also don't have the shield on them anymore, so they die much faster. Basically, this means you will see more games with an outer turret staying up longer, and another lane having 2, maybe 3 turrets, or even an inhibitor dead, because if you get the snowball started on turrets and no one stops the push, you can go all the way through, which I think creates some diverse games. Also, there's the Rift Herald. It is the opposite to Dragon before 20 minutes into the game. When you kill it, it drops a buff. You can pick it up for 10% increased damage, 40 movement speed, an improved recall, and then it also empowers minions when you're near them, much like Baron buff. It just doesn't give them any extra durability. So I expect teams to use the global gold from this and the Doom's Eve buff to push down early turrets in lanes that can't clear the wave well, because then you can get a lot of work done and you force a lot of pressure coming up through that way. Also, it's harder to take than Dragon. You better bring some friends, so it's a little bit of a tricky objective, but it will definitely take away from Total Dragon. So in closing, we will have shorter games because of Rift Herald, and the games being shorter, the 5 Dragon frequency will be greatly decreased. I also wonder about the viability of any type of late game team composition, because turrets will fall easier, Rift Herald will help that, people will be dead for longer, and it's much harder to stall for the late game, which means more early game turret rushing, and also a pretty strong possibility of more double AD compositions. That fits in with earlier finishes to games, faster turret pushing, and more importantly, you can run Kindred in the jungle, Quinn in top lane, Ezreal or Corki mid lane. There are so many different variations of the double AD composition that I think we're going to see a lot of it. So that does it for the shorter games of 2016. I hope you learned something.
So now it's time for a little more learning as we dive deep into the collective knowledge pool of LCS fans.
Yeah, I recently hit the streets to quiz my people on just how much they knew about the plethora of off-season roster moves. Check it out in today's Last Hit.
With so much drama in the LCS, I decided to catch up with some fans and help them understand what's going on in the new season. We got some awesome trivia to see how much they know about the 2016 season. Who's CLG's new top laner? He's really new. You never heard him before.
They didn't get a new top laner. They still have Zion.
Nah, it's not Zion. Who is Counterlogic Gaming's new top laner?
It's Darshan.
In Europe, exactly 1 jungler is on the same EU LCS team as last split. Who is it?
Amazing.
Name me Fnatic's new support.
Fnatic's new support? Oh.
What's the name of Fnatic's new support? Name Fnatic's new support. It's not Yellowstar anymore.
I want to say Peekaboo, but that's just a meme.
All right, if I give you the tri-code, you tell me the team. So for example, CLG.
Counterlogic Gaming.
Okay, we're gonna go for the harder ones. IMT.
Immortals.
VIT.
Vitality Gaming.
Solid. Energy.
What? Energy? NRG?
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Which of these teams is not in the European LCS? Team Vitality, Giants, SK Gaming.
Ooh, SK Gaming.
Yep. All right, good. Who is the only player to still be on the same team from spring 2013?
Bjergsen.
I'll give you a hint. He's on Dignitas. His name is Alan.
Alan.
All right, I'm gonna give you 5 names. You tell me if they're playing in EU or NA this split.
Okay.
Okay. Yellow Star.
NA.
Steelback.
NA. No, EU.
Okay. I'll give you that one, but only barely. Kissing.
NA. I don't know. I'm so sorry.
Here, you want to just read out the note card? Trashy.
EU.
Are there more European players, like people from Europe, in the NA or EU LCS?
Oh.
I can't go. I'm too busy laughing to do anything. This is great.
All right, I need some.
Here. Where is it? Here, let me help you with this one. Where is it?
I'm so sorry.
Where is it? Where's the thing?
I don't know. You don't tell him where a Jedi's lightsaber is.
Remington. It's okay. I'll complete the bit. I'll complete it. Here we go. Oh no! Primetime League starts right